Hello, hello. Welcome back to Let's Talk Entertainment News. This is Let's Talk Entertainment News for your Monday morning. I don't talk about Star Wars a lot, but I'm going to talk about a little bit of Star Wars today. It looks like we have our first kind of plot details about, our synopsis rather, of The Mandalorian and Grogu. I don't think it's really legit. I think it's more of a marketing ploy, but we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But before we do, just a quick reminder to be kind. That is all that we ask when you join us in the comment section. Be kind. We don't have to agree, but we do have to get along. All right, then. The Mandalorian and Grogu plot synopsis reveals the Force's heir. And I don't really think it's much of a synopsis. I think it's more of a marketing thing. I think they're sort of positioning the way to advertise their product. Grogu's role in the Star Wars universe is taking a major step forward. A new synopsis for The Mandalorian and Grogu has revealed him as the Force's heir in the galaxy. The upcoming film continues a story from the hit Disney Plus series with a star-studded cast and creative team behind it. A new synopsis for The Mandalorian and Grogu was revealed at the Walt Disney Studios Marketing Expo in Shanghai. See, it's marketing speak is what it is. The description highlights Grogu as the Force's heir in the galaxy and the Mandalorian's most adorable partner, noting his mischievous and endearing charm since his debut. It further states Grogu-themed merchandise spanning all channels, categories, and age groups will soon be available. The Grogu storm is about to hit. See, that's basically what it is. It's basically setting up the marketing position for the franchise moving forward. But let's pretend for a fact that this is actually, in fact, sort of a legitimate description of his role in Star Wars, the Force's heir. I know a lot of people didn't really like Season 3 of The Mandalorian. I didn't love it myself either. But that said, I have more faith in Jon Favreau on the big screen than I do on the small screen, so I do have a lot of hope for this film being okay. But what does it mean to be the Force's heir? And why is that sort of problematic for Grogu? I think the main issue is he's still small. There's only so much that he can do as the little guy. He does have emerging powers, we all know that, but like he can't be the lead on screen. He's always going to need another character, the Mandalorian, or others to sort of be his voice and sort of to carry any sort of film. So he's limited in that capacity. He can't really be the main event per se. And of course, the only way to get around that is by aging him up. But if you age him up, you then run into the problem that, well, you've lost the cuteness factor that is sort of driving his whole phenomenon. So aging him up rapidly would be problematic as well. So then assume that you do age him up. He becomes more like Yoda. How do you differentiate him from Yoda? How does he become something other than just a copycat of Yoda? Famously, everybody called him Baby Yoda at the beginning. And I think that when you do age him up, however long that takes, I'm not sure. We know that the species has a long lifespan, but at which point do they reach a relative maturity level where they can learn to speak English? That is another question. And then I think that even if you do decide to age him up, of course, you're going to lose the Mandalorian himself eventually because he's going to die of old age. But you could sort of bring him into line with the timeline where Rey is. Rey, very divisive character because she appeared in the sequel trilogy. But it does seem that Disney has a lot of intentions still hanging on of making her sort of the main event in the timeline. I can certainly see bringing them together eventually, but that doesn't really help us at all with this film, which is apparently set, I would say, immediately after Season 3. But what do I hope for the movie? I'm hoping for sort of their take on a Western. I mean, they've used that trope before, but I think you could really double down on it. Make it a little bit like The Unforgiven, I would say. Have the Mandalorian as the grizzled old cowboy gunslinger who is sort of retired. He's tried to settle down and make a life for his family on the farm. Maybe it's not going all that well. Something has to inevitably draw him out of retirement. And then what role does Grogu play in the whole thing in a way that sort of furthers the character without necessarily going back to him sort of being abducted or being in the possession of the Empire, or the First Order, I guess it is, right? Yeah. I think they're in a bit of a bind. I mean, I think they're okay for this film at least, or maybe this film and maybe a couple of immediate sequels. But this character runs the risk of losing his charm over time. Luckily, we do know that Yoda lived to be 900 years old, so allegedly long lifespan. They could have decades to have this whole thing unfold. But for now, they're in a really problematic little space. But there you have it. Those are my thoughts. The Force is Heir, probably not so much. More of a marketing slogan. He's definitely going to be a strong Force user if he survives. He's already turned down Jedi training. You're gonna have to bring that back into the fold. He's gonna have to learn from someone, somewhere. So it's a very interesting position that this whole thing is in. I think a lot of it comes from a lack of planning, unfortunately. But it does sound like Disney is doing more planning now, perhaps getting things on track. Will they follow through with it? Will they see it through? That all remains to be seen. But there you have it. My thoughts on the Force's Heir, who is apparently now Grogu in The Mandalorian and Grogu. Tell us what you thought in the comment section, and I'll see you again next time. But until then, may the Force be with you.